All right, that's cool. That's cool. So, hi guys, how you doing? Hope you're very well. Got Heidi Romer here. All right, that's cool. That's cool. So, hi guys, how you doing? Hope you're very well. Got Heidi Romer here. All right, that's cool. That's cool. So, hi guys, how you doing? Hope you're very well. Got Heidi Romer here. All right. Okay, Heidi. So, our topic today is going to be depression and how to overcome it. And both I and Heidi, we have some experience, obviously, with depression and how to deal with it and how to resolve it. In today's live stream, we're going to talk about the root causes of depression on the physical and psychological levels, how to overcome them. And we also, I'm going to share my personal story, so we'll see what Heidi would like to do as well. And then we'll give you guys a chance to ask us questions and interact with us. But before we go any further, please subscribe and give us a like and comment. The information about how to reach Heidi and myself will be provided in the description of the video. So yeah, let's get started here. So how are you doing, Heidi?
I'm so good. Thanks for asking.
All right, awesome. So Heidi, I'd like you to, tell the viewers from your point of view what it is that you think about depression and the root causes of it and what you would do about it, how you would go about it.
Mm-hmm. This is very multifaceted because I believe it's a process. It's an unfoldment. And I understand it as such because of my journey and my own healing and being able to not only manage the symptoms, but eliminate them. And let me just tell you a little bit about myself. So I suffered from clinical depression, complex PTSD, anxiety, depression, and panic attacks, and was medicated. I used medication. So I am not saying that medication isn't an option. I believe it is a tool. It's a tool to use through the unfoldment and through the healing process if you choose. But I don't believe it's an answer. It is the end all, because in my experience, the medication, lots of different kinds, they were numbing. I wasn't able to feel. And so, yeah, I felt a little better, but at the same time, I was not living my human experience and being able to feel to the extreme and the full spectrum of emotions that we have. So I believe that you have to look at this from the outside, like in all different ways. So yeah, it's mind, body, spirit, but I like to look at it first from the outside perspective, from the things outside of myself, in my environment, in the food that I'm putting in my body, in just that environment, all things. And then I like to go more within, just because there's so many different ways to think about it and different things involved, that it's important to really start unpacking. It's like a big old ball of yarn, different colors and different things going on, and you're just pulling strings little by little to kind of start loosening this knot and seeing what will fall and what you need to untie and whose is what.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm hearing that you were medicated, and when you were medicated, how was it working for you? What was your experience? Did you have any side effects when you were taking the medications?
There were a lot of side effects. Sometimes my gut didn't agree. I had to continually go on different dosages because it wouldn't stay consistent. So I was up and down on different meds and then switching meds and combining medications, and combining this with Western talk therapy as well. And so I didn't find it helpful. No.
What is Western talk therapy? What is that exactly?
Western therapy is talk therapy.
Oh,
Is
okay. That's what you mean by psychotherapy or
counseling. Yeah.
counseling. Okay. Okay. And why do you think that didn't work exactly? Was it because it was more on the conscious level? It wasn't getting to the root issues, or
Yeah.
was it
Yeah. I
just-
believe there's definitely some things that you can understand with the mind and be able to uncover and understand about yourself and the situations. But ultimately, I believe it's more of an inside job, more of a somatic experience.
Okay, cool. So what did you do ultimately? How did you resolve your issue?
So I came to a point of not wanting to live continuously and extreme anxiety where I wanted to jump out of a moving car on the freeway. I didn't know what my body was going to do the next time it was going to be triggered, whether I would be crippled on the floor in a panic attack and lose consciousness. And so I decided to do plant medicine, to experience ayahuasca in Costa Rica. And that was able to help me to separate myself from my experiences and see ultimately how I was creating the life I was living and my role in my experience. And that itself was a tremendous catalyst to my healing. So that was the beginning. And then since then, I've done 4 more retreats. And it's an unfoldment. It's a non-addictive substance. It's more of you're taking off layer by layer by layer and understanding more and more about yourself. But it's also been coupled with deep meditative retreats, going to week-long advanced retreats with Joe Dispenza, and also experiencing deep meditative breathwork sessions that are very therapeutic and helpful for the purgative and releasing and also understanding self to a greater depth than ever before.
And I understand that's what you teach, right? You teach breath work.
I facilitate breath work, with the clients that I work with, and also in group settings, so at retreats.
Okay. Okay. That's good. And did you find that the breath work was one of the main tools that really made a big difference for you? Is that
Yeah.
what the experience was?
Yeah, for sure. Because with plant medicine, you have to take a substance, right? All of these things, the breathwork, meditation, and plant medicine, they're just getting you to a different state of consciousness to see yourself in a different way. And plant medicine, you have to take a substance. Meditation takes a lot of consistency and duration. So at least 60 to 90 minutes of meditation, at least for the norm, in order to get into that altered state. And breath work, the holotropic breath work that I use is, it takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes in order to get to that state of mind. So I believe it's helpful because not all clients are open to plant medicine. Not all clients are open to spending the time and practice to meditate, and breath work, I think, is just unassuming. It's more of like they trust themselves, and it's just somewhere that they're more willing to go in the process.
Okay, cool. And did you find any kind of dependency on the plant medicine at all? Like, did you find yourself needing to do it more often in order to get the right results, or was it just one time for you and then you saw the difference?
It is a process. Like I've mentioned lots before, that first week-long experience, I can't say that I was much better afterwards. It took a lot of integration afterwards, lots of months. So my first experience, the week ended when the world shut down. That Tuesday was when I got home, or whatever day of the week it was, in 2020. So my life drastically shifted, not just because of the plant medicine retreat, but I had to homeschool and all of that. So it was a process of really becoming aware of myself. And that was the key for the first experience. That first week-long plant medicine experience was the biggest gift I got from that was self-awareness and being able to see truly how I was playing a role in my experience in this existence. There's definitely not a dependency. There's no desire necessarily to go back and partake of the medicine itself for those experiences, but the desire comes in seeing the growth and progression and how quickly it comes after experiencing the plant medicine.
But out of those methods that you tried, which was the plant medicine, ayahuasca, and breathing and meditating, in your opinion, what worked for you the most or the best? What was your experience? Because I understand that it's because you're doing the breath work yourself, you're teaching it. So I would presume that that's something that really worked for you.
Yeah. It's kind of like a recipe, right? And there's lots of different ingredients in order to get the finished product and the desired product. For me, I can't say that one is any more important than the other, just because it's exactly what I've needed in these moments and in my progression. So I love the experiences that I've had with plant medicine. The week-long meditative retreats have been extremely helpful. Breathwork is my practice of choice and what I utilize the most because of its convenience, because of its efficacy, and it's just always available, and it's quick as well, So yes, I utilize breathwork because of whom I help in my clientele. I specialize in sexual trauma, and a lot of times the last thing that my clients or I, would have wanted is to be vulnerable again. So plant medicine was my last resort. I went against all of what I was taught when first going. I had never drank alcohol, done any drugs. So it was very against anything that I had ever experienced, but I was desperate.
Right.
So had I known about breath work, I might not have experienced plant medicine. So I can't say what has been more effective. And I believe that it's more an uncovering of self and being willing to experience whatever you're being called to, that will help you start the unfoldment or continue the progression. And I definitely believe in breath work as a very powerful tool to utilize at all times and as frequent as you want. And you're able to get yourself there and work yourself through these different triggers.
Right.
And breath work can be used in day-to-day life. So I like to use integrative breath work, the ones that you use in the triggered moments.
Right.
And then there's also priming that I love to use to get you into a powerful state. And then I also like the deeper meditative breath work that's including the holotropic breath pattern. And those are more deeper immersive to work through the traumas, to work through the core issues of these triggers and that fight or flight response. So it's being able to regulate your nervous system.
And that's what you teach, right? That you teach a combination of these different breath works.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you would share what it is that you're teaching with the audience, that'd be great, because we want to be of service here to the public as well. So yeah, that'll be good to know what people could learn from you as well, or what sort of breathing that it is you try that helped you. Yeah, because it'll be very helpful.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you notice there was is complete resolution of the depression, or what is your experience? Do you still what do you still need to use the breathing these days? Is it something that you sort of tap back into from time to time, or what is it? How compared to where you were before? What's the transformation that you noticed from this work?
Yeah, of course. I've been medication free for 3 years. And as far as experiencing triggers, they have decreased incrementally. So as I utilize the breath patterns in in the moment, I am able to utilize my breath and allow my body to feel safe in that moment continuously over and over again, it minimizes each time. And eventually the triggers are no more. And we're human, so we're going to constantly have different things popping up and come into our awareness. But being able to utilize our breath helps to manage our nervous system. So you mentioned helping, to teach. So let me just share one of the breath patterns that I really like. I think it's important to know that your breath is actually helping to manage the nervous system, which is your fight or flight response. And it's the network that your body can communicate. So in your lower lobes of your lungs, the very deepest part. So when you inhale and your belly expands, you're getting into those lower lobes of your lungs. And in these lower lobes, there are the nerve endings to the parasympathetic nervous system. So your nervous system is the sympathetic, which is fight or flight, and then parasympathetic is rest and digest. And if you can utilize the deeper lobes, then you're going to shift from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. And knowing this is super helpful, because when you're in a triggered state, when you have something come up and that fight or flight response just starts, the minute it does, you can have this little flag saying, okay, look at me, just awareness is first and foremost important. And then from that awareness, there is a gap, so to speak. Once you become aware, then there is a lull. And in that lull is really what determines what direction you go. So with awareness, if you choose to entertain the thoughts in your mind, right, you're going to spin and you're going to continue in that fight or flight response. But if you take this awareness and the lull to cue you in on, okay, something needs to be brought into wholeness, like I need to provide safety for myself and start to breathe. I like to think of the breath as the inhale is excitatory, and then the exhale is sedative. So if you can inhale for, say, 4 counts and then exhale for 6 counts, then you are very much suppressing this fight or flight response. So that's just one simple breath pattern. You can do equal counts, because I know when you're in a triggered state, it's hard to breathe and your breathing might be really shallow. And that's your capacity in this fight or flight response. So you might have to start with 2 counts in and 2 counts out. And I like to do it through your nose because it keeps it slow and controlled. Both inhale and exhale through your nose. And then you go to 3 counts in and 3 counts out. So you can be doing this in the moment and nobody has to know what you're doing. But on the inside, you're managing your nervous system and you're getting from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. You're literally showing your body with safety and with your breath the chemicals that it needs to be releasing. So if you can engage these lower lobes, you're going to start releasing the cortisol to counteract the adrenaline.
Okay. Okay, interesting. So when you were experiencing the depression, were you also experiencing other emotions like sadness or grief or anything else underneath that was connected? Was there any anxiety that was also occurring at the same time?
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the
And
above.
I think depression is just a culmination of symptoms.
Okay.
And for me, it was residing in a lower state of being constantly.
Okay. And as you were doing your breathing, you noticed also there was a change in those other states of mind, right? Like the grief or sadness and anxiety, all of that was kind of calming down, right? With the breathing methods.
Yeah, because when you're in fight or flight, you literally don't have capacity to think in possibility. Your only focus for your body is safety.
Right.
So if you can switch out of the fight or flight response, then you can open up to possibility, potential, dreams. Like when you're safe, then you can look up at the clouds and enjoy the sun and see the shapes and enjoy the moment with your loved ones, or intimate moments, or just holding hands, or watching a child play. But when you're in fight or flight constantly, you literally are on guard at all times, looking in your surroundings, looking within yourself to be safe.
Right. Okay, cool. All right. Is there something you would like to lead the people with? Some kind of exercise, some kind of breathing exercise, or any other tips you want to give people, or and how you could help them?
Yeah, so I think the breath pattern that I really like to use is in the integration part, in the day-to-day life, is the box breath. And this is really helpful because you think about the counting instead of what's going on around you. So it somewhat brings your awareness from the outside into your mind when you're thinking about what the breath feels like. For one, I like to really focus on the actual bodily sensations of the breath to get you out of your mind, because you want to ultimately go from your mind down into your heart space, into your body, because that's what really needs to feel safe, is your body and your soma. So when I say somatic and soma, that's just relating to your body. So the box breath is just equal counts. And so it's like 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts, 4 counts out, hold for 4 counts. And a lot of people know this breath pattern, and it's really, really simple, but until you put it into practice, you don't really know the power of it in being able to manage yourself. You could be like, you could say words and I could be offended, right? I know that that's when it evokes emotion within me. I know that that's mine to own, that that's my experience, and that's something I need to look at. So in any situation that you're in public or in relationship, the minute you see this emotional response turn on, then you can use this breath to get yourself out of that fight or flight response so you can then think clearly. So we can just do a couple of rounds. Let's do 3 rounds of 4 counts each. Okay. So just get settled in your chair, feet flat on the floor, and your chest up high with your neck long. We're just going to take an inhale for 4 counts. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. We're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. And take a deep cleansing breath in, expand those lungs as big as you can, and then exhale through the mouth. Just kind of notice where you're at in your body, what you're feeling, the sensations, if you're more calm, if you're more present, and just check in with your body, check in with yourself. And then I invite you to just open your eyes when you're ready. I really like to use closing my eyes to bring my sensations within, so that I'm cutting out all of the external stimulus. But the beautiful thing with the box breath is, in counting, all you have to do to enhance the sedation, the bringing yourself down and calming, is to extend the exhale for longer than the inhale. So you could do, 4 counts in, hold for 4, and then exhale for 6 to 8 counts, and then hold for 4 counts. So if you prolong the exhale, then it's going to sedate you. It's going to bring your energy lower and calm you down. And that's great before sleep. It's great to work from equal counts into more of a longer exhale, just to really solidify that safety, that sense of safety after a triggered experience.
Right. That's what came up to me was that whole, I was kind of picking up that it wasn't just the depression, but also the need for safety that was coming up. And did you notice that when you were doing this, you felt safer?
Yeah, it's like I said, depression is just a culmination of symptoms, and everyone has different experiences within the depression, right? So safety and trust are key in any aspect of healing, in any way that you want to do it, no matter what you're doing, like no matter what modality you're using. So ultimately, this breath is bringing us to safety because we're giving it to ourselves. We're not waiting for our outside environment to provide us with that safety. We're relying on ourselves right here, right now, that I can give safety to myself and I can feel it and experience that through my breath.
Right. Okay, cool. Did you ever have to tell yourself that you're safe, like to reassure yourself in some other ways?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And did
Yeah.
it work for you as well?
Yeah. And there's lots of different ways that you can do this. I'll just share a couple. So one of them is you cradle the back of your head, right where it goes in, with one hand, and then with the other hand, you put it over your forehead. And you can do this with or without the breath pattern. If you do it with the breath, it's just an added bonus and an added depth to that feeling and sense of safety. And being able to feel yourself being held in this way, and being able to feel the physical sensation of being held and being supported. So you can do that with the breath. And I also naturally, it's funny in looking back, because as I learned these somatic practices to calm the nervous system, I noticed that I already did it. So when I was pregnant and on IVs and super, super sick, I found myself rocking, right? I would just rock my hips. And this rocking motion is a natural way of calming. It's funny that we do it with babies, as we're holding a baby, we tend to, bounce them or rock them. But really that is working with our soma to calm us down. So that's another way is, you can go back and forth, sitting on your sits bones, and rocking either side to side or front to back and calmly, right? And you can go, like, if you're, how many of us have noticed or had an experience or remember as a child, you're just like sitting there angry and rocking. It naturally happens. But if we can, if we're angry or triggered or feeling strong emotions, rocking quickly might be good. But then I want you to consciously slow the rock and the movement to be able to bring yourself back into that more present state. And you can do this in so many different ways.
Right.
Helpful.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience, or any other experiences of your own, or how you overcame depression, or any other tools, or is there anything else you want to tell people or share with people?
Yeah, let me just kind of wrap it all up real quick. Okay. So as I've said before, depression is just a list of symptoms. Okay. So it's really important to not define yourself as depressed, and the words that you speak to yourself matter. So it's a process of unfoldment, seeing why you are the way you are, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And I believe it's first starting, from within or without. You choose wherever you're called. But on the outside, who are you surrounding yourself with? How do people treat you? What foods are you partaking in? What music are you listening to? What podcasts are you listening to? Do you spend your time outside in the sun? Are you touching the grass? Just noticing, being able to utilize these things outside of us to facilitate our internal world to what we desire. And then there's also the inside aspect of our minds. And what are we feeding ourselves within our minds, with our thoughts, with our beliefs, what we identify with? And also feeding ourselves these thoughts, it's really important to notice, am I creating thoughts that are helpful? Are they helping me to feel safe with myself? Or am I the harshest critic? And then creating a space in which if I ask questions, like heck, I'm going to get answers because I'm so closed off, because they're critical and judgmental. And your mind is not a safe space to explore. Your body's not a safe space to be felt if you're feeding yourself these kinds of thoughts and beliefs, if they're negative. And I think one last little plug-in is changing your perspective, even to the slightest degree. If you are very religious, then I invite you not to necessarily question your beliefs, but question how you're believing, how you're seeing them, how you're interacting with them. You know, are they like this box that you have to fit inside? Or are you willing to experience things in a different way and open your mind to, okay, well, maybe I'm taught this, but maybe it could relate in this other way. And seeing things not as right or wrong, right? These definitive things, whether it's through religion, through our parents, through our neighbors, through our teachers, the way that we are taught. Mm-hmm. They always say, what do you think? Well, we weren't taught how to think. And so if we shift this perspective to nothing is right or wrong, there are things that serve me and things that aren't getting me to the place that I desire. They're not in my highest interest. They're not taking me to the destination of choice. And thinking of things not as right or wrong, like I said, but maybe the mistakes are just missed takes, just like in movies. You know, how many takes do they do to actually get the film in these different sequences? They're just opportunities that didn't hit the mark, that weren't optimized. So you just do it again. And eventually it gets easier and more fluid the more that you do this. So with each little adjustment you make in your outside world and your inside world, you will slowly start to see the shifts. And it's so important to be able to honor yourself in every stage that you're in noticing the progression, giving yourself acknowledgement for that. And then if you have days where you're just tired of trying, tired of putting so much work in, allow yourself to have a crap day, to be a mess, and to just honor the process and how it is unfolding for you.
When you mean allow, you mean by accept yourself as you are at the moment, but don't settle or attach to the identity? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I find that the acceptance of oneself as we are in the moment is critical. Because if we don't accept ourselves, who else is going to do that, right? So that's to me, it's like it's all about self-love at the end. What about the lessons? Have you learned any particular critical lessons, life lessons from your experiences, from this depression and what happened?
Well, I've shared quite a few in, these perspective shifts were huge for me. But I think you nailed it in this last question, in your last comment, is ultimately at the end of this life, who am I leaving this life with? And it's myself. And if my inside world isn't a safe place, isn't the place where I want to be, I believe that I'm just going to continue that on the other side. And it's going to haunt me if it's not productive or helpful. And if it's beautiful, if I believe that, I am to be loved and cherished and respected, and I surround myself with people and things that feed that honor that, it's not about ego. It's not about self-righteousness or anything lower vibrational. It's such a deep love and allowing myself to be seen by myself, to be experienced by myself, every part of me to show up. And I'm not pushing any part of me to the side or denying any part of me to be experienced. That ultimately what I think about myself is the only thing that matters. And thinking every day, if I were to die today, what would my biggest regret be? And how can I let that go today? Like, what depth am I willing to go today? Because today is what I have. This moment is what I have. So one of my biggest gratitudes in this journey is my ability to be present and be in the moment, so that then I can be able to receive how I need to interact, or what would be the best in this situation. But also the absolute presence allows me to enjoy where I'm at, exactly where I'm at, with whom I'm with. And if I'm outside, I can enjoy the breeze or the sun or the trees or the birds. It's being present is the most beautiful gift, because in the present moment is where you can receive insight, inspiration, intuition. It's also where you can enjoy life and peace and be able to just choose. Like, that present moment is the ultimate space of choice and freedom to feel and just be, because we don't have to become anything. There is no becoming. We already are our highest potential. And by uncovering what's already there is when it starts to be seen and felt and experienced. So becoming something or someone outside of ourselves, I don't believe is a thing. I think it's all about uncovering what's already there and believing that it resides within us.
That's so true, actually, from my point of view as well, that it's not really about necessarily becoming, but unfoldment from the inside out of what we truly are in essence. Which goes into quite deep spiritual realizations for some people. From my point of view, we can always go from the outside or from the inside. I'll talk about it in a moment. Anything else, Heidi, you wanted to mention or bring up?
No, I think I've spoken. I'm sure there'll be other things, but thank you so much.
It sounds to me like the acceptance, the self-acceptance, and the idea of and really appreciating the present moment was a big lesson for you.
Mm-hmm.
And finding the little gifts in life, and finding the beauty within oneself and around oneself, and living with appreciation. That's what I'm hearing from you, basically.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. All righty. So from my point of view, when we look at the depression again, it's a symptom. It's not really an actual condition. A lot of people would like to believe it's a condition, because oftentimes that's the way it's labeled by the Western medical professions. In fact, depression is a symptom, and the only way to actually heal anything is to address the root cause. Otherwise, if we just treat the symptom, it's like putting a band-aid on a wound that needs to be exposed to the oxygen, to the air and sunlight and so forth in order to heal. So a depression has, in general, as a symptomological condition, from my experience clinically, right? Because I've worked with thousands of patients in my life, and predominantly I work with people using Chinese medicine, acupuncture, for example, for depression. And I noticed in my experience, by treating people with combination of different types of acupuncture, like Chinese, Japanese, Nagano, Korean, and so forth, many of my patients would recover from depression within 1 to 2 weeks, just from the acupuncture, right? But again, I agree with you, Heidi, because we need a combination of different methods. I think that it's very important to embrace different approaches in order to heal ourselves. So things like breathing, like what you offer. I'm very, very big proponent of breathing as well. So definitely that's something to utilize. But again, from my experience, I've been able to heal a lot of people with acupuncture without any medications. And actually, some of my patients who were medicated, they were able to stop using the medications. And I mean, permanently stop their medications, even people who were bipolar depressive, which is actually probably one of the hardest types of depressions to deal with, because they swing from depressive sometimes to being really angry and agitated. So generally, I personally look at the depression as a state. It's not an actual, I don't like the label. I think labeling a condition is incorrect because it gives a person a type of identity rather than feeling what the person feels. Once the person starts identifying with a specific emotion, it creates an identity, and then it could potentially serve the person to meet some of their primary human needs, like the need for significant importance, love, connection, certainty, safety, and so forth. Because when people create this identity, sometimes it can serve them in a way that they can shift into this victim identity, and it somehow makes, for some people, it can make them feel like they are maybe this is happening for some people unconsciously, but for some people it gives them a sense of importance. Look at me, look what happened to me in my life, I deserve to be seen as this victim, or look at what I went through and all this stuff, and sometimes people get a lot of sympathy from others, and it can elevate the person's ego temporarily. I'm not saying everybody goes through the same thing, but there is a potential danger of becoming attached to a condition and developing an identity, especially like our state of mind is changed by the words we say to ourselves, our posture, our physicality, the way we breathe, the way we carry ourselves, but also by the things we focus on, which are the thoughts, the images in our mind, past versus future or present, also the things we want and don't want. And also the imagination, the things we imagine in our head. So each and every person always has those things to disposal in every moment, because the state of mind is something that we can change just like that, literally instantaneously. And some people would say, well, how is it possible? How can you change your state? But very simple. For example, the breathing pattern, like when you were talking about the breathing, how does the person who's depressed breathe? Right? You can already kind of imagine they're probably breathing shallow. They're probably not breathing very much. And their posture is probably caved in. And they're probably focusing on the stuff that wasn't so good, right? That happened, or maybe a loss that they experienced of some sort. So the mind is focused on all the stuff that they don't want, or like loss or a problem or a specific issue. Their body is slouched and their shoulders are caved in, and they keep on telling themselves, I'm depressed. Or maybe they don't even say it, right? Some people hold it back inside. So cancel. I like to use cancel. Anytime you say something really crappy to yourself, just say cancel, and just wipe it out and replace it with something positive. We are in charge. We all go through all kinds of states in our life. Some are, unpleasant, some are pleasant. So it all depends on whether or not we want to be in charge of that. Because the question is, our emotions, our mind, our emotions, and our body are like three horses. And we are like the what do you call it? The person that that rides the horses on a carriage. So we hold the reins. So if we let the horses go their own way, it's going to be a disaster. You can make sure, you can pretty much expect that you're going to have a problem because you're not in control. The horses are going to go on their own way. And actually, that's very often way to describe the mind is as one horse, emotions as another horse, and the body as another horse. So we have to take back the charge of the reins in order to guide the horses accordingly in a desired direction, rather than letting them go and creating the havoc. So so this is something very important. The question is, who's in charge? Our thoughts, our emotions, or are we going to be in charge? Are we going to use the mind in a desired way that we want? Or are we going to let our mind take over and control us? And I know it's very difficult. I mean, I'll share in a moment some of my stories because I've gone through some very, very difficult, challenging times myself. Specifically 4 times in my life, which nearly broke me completely. And to a point where I thought, like, I was going to probably need a psychiatric help. But so I'll share that in a moment, what I did and what I went through. But going back to the whole thing about the states, our state is controlled by those 3 horses, right? But when we change the state of mind, which is the things we focus on, the words we say, and our posture, it actually is going to start changing. So for example, if somebody's depressed and they are slouching, just try bringing yourself back up. Literally lift your sternum slightly up, open your shoulders, and notice what happens. And bring your chin up and maybe look upright. What happens is our eyes as well. When our eyes change the angle, it actually affects our state of mind. So people that's why we say, things are looking up, things are looking up. Things are looking up because what happens when we're looking upright, it actually causes us to go into an alpha brainwave and makes us more optimistic. When we look down, it makes us depressed. It causes the energy to sink downward. So again, depression is also about energy, right? So it also indicates the energy sinking down. And so how do we uplift the energy, right? Again, we've got those, the state of mind. So let's call depression a state of mind. But it's on the same pole of emotions. On one end of the spectrum, you've got all these negative emotions. On the other pole, you've got the optimistic, the super positive emotions, the elation and feeling outstanding. So the question is, what do you want? Do you want to stay down there or do you want to be up there? Most people would say, sure, I want to be up there. So what are we going to do about this, right? Are we going to stay down there, or are we just going to want things, or are we going to actually do something about it? And this may be a process. This may be a process that may transform the state immediately. There may be a process that may need to be repeated over time, right? Because again, this is the symptom of depression. Let's call it a symptom or a state of depression is dependent on what's happening in the body and what's happening in the mind. If the body is out of balance, which I'll discuss in a moment, and the mind is out of balance, then the depression is a symptom. It manifests as a symptom, right? And so what happens is on the mental level, we have conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind. A lot of people only think about mind as being conscious. But we have a subconscious part of our mind which stores memories, which stores a lot of different patterns and beliefs, and our perceptions of the world and ourselves in this world. Yeah, it's a part of us that is very subtle, and if we access that, there is a lot of information there. And then we have the conscious mind is oftentimes very limited and it tends to resist change. It doesn't want to necessarily go and investigate and see things, because it blocks. It tries to protect itself. Also, subconscious mind can have protective mechanisms. that can prevent the person from transforming or healing. So the root cause on the mental level has to be investigated in the subconscious realm. So we have to access the subconscious realm and find out what is the cause of depression. What's underneath that? What's underneath the symptom? Is it sadness? Is it grief? Is it because we were so attached to something and now we lost it? Or we, or is it something that we are constantly trying to grasp for and we don't get it in our life? Like a lot of people want to be happy, for example. You hear it a lot. I want to be happy, I want to be happy, but they're still not happy. And then they oftentimes they say, I'll be happy when and if I have this and that. But no, like you said yourself, Heidi, it's about here and now and being in this moment and really appreciating the gift of life here in this moment, no matter how much we have, no matter what is happening in our life, no matter how rich we are, no matter the state of our health, no matter the state of our affairs in life, because life is here now. And there's nothing else other than that which is here. The future is gone, the past is not here yet, right? And like as we all know, present moment is a gift. It's a present. So this is super important, and you absolutely nailed it on the you nailed the nail here. So going back to the physical part, the physical issues that cause depression in general are connected to liver function. So people who are under a lot of stress, emotional stress, who are unhealthy relationships, who are in toxic, unhealthy relationships, who have stressful jobs, especially women, by the way. This is very interesting. Compared to men and women respond differently to stress and to situations that involve safety. So when the liver goes out of balance because of excessive amount of stress and as I said, toxic environment, and especially when people eat unhealthy foods that are laden with chemicals and preservatives and all kinds of genetically modified stuff and sugar, that can cause stagnation of what's called qi or energy in the blood and blood in the liver. This will result in stagnation, emotional stagnation, which means the person may start getting emotional outbursts, and they may also go into they may also become withdrawn and suppress things inside, but ultimately it can lead into depression, especially when it's prolonged over time. So the mind and body are very interconnected. Oftentimes in the Western world, people only address the mind, but only on the conscious level, not the subconscious, which is super important. And what's oftentimes missing is the body. Instead of treating the root causes of the issues in the body, the symptoms are again treated with medications, correct? So again, change the state, change your posture, even just lifting up just making a small smile, lifting up the corners of one's lips can change things. Actually, if you can try this, like when you're sitting and you just don't smile at all and notice how you're breathing. It's pretty hard to breathe, actually. See, when you don't smile, it's hard to breathe. The breathing becomes very shallow. And when we just smile a little bit, a lot easier. It's like freaking magic, right?
Yeah.
It's that simple, right? So what I like to do, for example, like every finger on our hands connects to different organs. So for example, the thumb is connected to lungs, spleen, and also it's connected to the liver. The index finger is connected to the intestines, and also it's connected to the large intestine and kidney. The middle finger is connected to the pericardium and liver as well. The fourth finger, the ring finger, is connected to the what's called triple warmer, which does not exist in Western medicine. It's connected also to the gallbladder and the lungs. And the pinky finger is connected to the heart and kidneys and small intestine. So, for example, depression being symptomatic with the liver, you can hold the thumb, for example, especially if you have symptoms of overthinking, when the mind is overly active. You can hold the thumb whilst you are sitting and just say you can go for a walk like that, or even sit down and meditate whilst you're doing the breathing, like the square, the what is called, the
Box.
box breathing. If you do the box breathing, you can also hold the thumb like that, and it will actually help you to correct your internal energy flow in the channels and the organ that's connected to liver, spleen, and lungs. Just a thumb. And what I like to do with this, especially for depression, there's two sounds you can use, depending on what's happening. One sound would be for overthinking, and the sound is who, WHO, just who, elongated. And you hold as you hold your thumb, and you repeat the sound as many times as necessary until you completely change, until your mind calms down. The second sound you can use is shoo. It's shoo. This is a sound for the liver, and this sound causes the liver stagnation to clear up as you're holding the thumb. Yeah, it's very simple. By the way, if you hold the thumb, the other beautiful benefit is that it will improve your metabolism. It will improve your digestion. You're going to have a way better metabolism, and it actually can help you with trimming down. I don't talk about weight loss because weight loss is not what people really want. People want to trim down and look fit and have a very good metabolism, and this can help. Holding the thumb can really help. And again, you can hold like this. You can cross the thumbs together and grab each thumb at the same time, and that way you can do both sides at the same time. Which side do you do it on doesn't really matter. I usually recommend for men to hold the right thumb first, for women the left thumb, because the energy flow in men and women's body is different. So hold for men, hold the right thumb and brace it like this. You can also press with your index finger and your thumb. I'm not sure if you guys can see here because of the lighting, but between the fourth and the fifth metacarpal, there are two acupuncture points that when you hold them, and then you hold below like this with the middle of the ring finger and the pinky finger. Excuse me for the lighting, but we are learning how to do this even better each time. So anyhow, so this is the hand position. It's called the yin yang mudra, and basically you're holding the thumb with your left hand, the right thumb with your left hand for the men, and for the women the left thumb with the right hand. You place your index finger and your ring finger between the fourth and the fifth metacarpal, yeah, and the ring finger. There's the ring. So index finger and middle finger are on between the fourth and the fifth metacarpal. Let me see if you can see here, like that. Yep, there you go. Perfect. That's Heidi's got it. And the ring finger and the pinky are resting on top of on the ring finger, but on the phalange. So on the phalangeal, yeah, that's it. So you hold it there, and you basically hold this for about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want to enhance your meditation, you can combine the breathing with the mudra and the sound and visualization and the things you tell to yourself and the posture, right? So if you utilize those different tools at the same time, because we have to really start addressing the root causes. In the Western culture, there's too much of a focus on the symptoms, And it just keeps on people being stuck in the same thing over and over again for a very long time. Maybe for some people that works, but I'm not too sure how many people want to be suffering from different conditions indefinitely, right? Anyway, so you can use this mudra. This is super good for your, actually it's also very good for your heart, it's good for your digestion, it's good for your circulation, it's good for your energy, it's good for your thyroid. This is a beautiful mudra. And you hold it below your navel. And there is no contraindications to this mudra. It balances your what's called yin and yang energy flow. So I talked about the state and the triad of the state. I talked about the physical and the mental causes, the root causes, which have to be addressed. In terms of language, anybody who feels depressed, it's important to, instead of saying I am depressed, cancel, say cancel every time you say something that goes against yourself, and replace it with maybe I feel depressed, or I feel down at this moment. So so that way you can get in touch with the feeling rather than identifying with the feeling. Right? Because the identification, anything you say after I am becomes your identity.
I like to say I'm experiencing.
Okay, yeah, experiencing could be good, you know, as long as there is no identification, because identification leads into a victim mentality. And then instead of being the victor, when we are victims, you know, life kind of sucks. But for some people, it fulfills their need, as I said before, for love, attention, connection, and so forth. So we have to really recognize that those primary human needs that we oftentimes seek, even by playing a victim, those are the things that we have to access within ourselves. We have to access meet our own unmet needs from within. We are the only person in this world who's going to be able to understand ourselves properly and completely, respect ourselves, accept ourselves, love ourselves the way we want to be loved, accepted, understood, and accepted, and so forth. Because what happens is often when we expect things from the outer world, from other people to do those things to us, it leads into a massive disappointment, because not everybody's capable of it. The world, you know, a lot of people in this world are on their own journey, and they are struggling with their own issues that they may not be, and they may not have the capacity or capability to meet our unmet needs because they even haven't met their own. And yet we are like, sometimes the way I look at the world is like a lot of people are like beggars looking for something outside of themselves, but yet they have this gold mine, this magical kitchen in their own heart where they can cook up their own love. They don't need it from somebody else. And if they do get it from somebody else, it's just a bonus. So to me, this is super important. Just excuse me, I have to connect, make sure my computer's got the power. Just going to connect my cable here. Anyhow, the other thing that is very important that I wanted to bring up is the lessons that we have to learn. Everything in life happens for us, whether we like to believe it or not. Everything in life happens to make us better human beings, to transform us, to make us, you know, more loving, to make us to bring us back into our center, and to help to guide us on the right path in life, even the painful and difficult circumstances. And I'm going to share in a moment from my experience what I learned and so forth, because you know, I think again the question that everybody that's watching the show, I mean our today's live webinar is people need to ask themselves, what do I have to learn from this? What do I have to learn from the circumstances that I experience in my life? and take a piece of paper and start writing it down. Like, what is life trying to teach me? And unless we are willing to learn from what life is trying to teach us, the life is going to persist with the similar type of circumstances that will continue until we actually learn. And so it's actually, like I said, it's happening for us. And so one thing I wanted to bring up here, going back to the learning, right? So, for example, one of the very difficult circumstances I had when I was a teenager. Again, I'm not going back to relive. That's very interesting. If any one of you guys is willing to learn from your life, I recommend you, instead of reliving the past by going back to it, I would like you to step back and disassociate. Look at your past as if you're looking on a movie screen. So do not associate. See yourself on the movie screen and see the events of the past, but look at it from the second person perspective. So you're not in the movie. You're simply seeing yourself on the screen. Also, you can imagine yourself floating above your life and seeing yourself from above, looking at your life from above, from a bird's eye point of view. And that way you can also disassociate. Because the moment we start to relive a specific circumstance or event, then we basically, the brain or the mind cannot tell the difference between what we are imagining or what is real. So then all these different responses start to come back, all this pain and sadness and grief, and it just reinforces the same pattern, and then also reinforces patterns of victimhood and all these other things that happen. So my personal advice is float above your life, see your circumstances from above, or disassociate by basically taking yourself out of that memory and looking at it as if it's on a movie screen. And you can also change it. For example, make the movie black and white. Don't make it colorful. Make it black and white. This can actually drain the emotions out of it. So you're not reliving, you're reviewing the past for the sake of learning. And
can I add a little something?
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
With that being said, reviewing, the reason we become depressed, right? We haven't talked about this, is because we are expression beings. And if we don't express, we usually suppress, repress, and become depressed. So in revisions and reviewing your experiences, it's important to notice the dialogue, notice the emotions, and be able to actually move through and process those emotions, because those frequencies that didn't get experienced fully are what's creating the chaos within us. You could see it as the things that we've repressed or suppressed are what's creating and causing the depression.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, again, we definitely do not want to be reliving. We want to be reviewing, and for the sake of learning from the past, rather than reliving it and basically traumatizing ourselves again. I know some people may say, "Oh, that's easy for you to say." Well, look, guys. I mean, Heidi has had some very traumatic things. I've had some very traumatic things, and we all acknowledge our trauma, but we choose to rise above it. We choose to transform, and we choose to move forward and step up in our life. The past is gone, and again, we have to be truly thankful for this moment. all of us are going through all kinds of things. There's not a single person on this planet that hasn't gone through some kind of serious trauma. I don't know a single person personally, and I've worked with thousands of people in my life. If we actually stop and talk to people on the street and ask them their personal life stories, we would not believe what kind of stuff that people went through. All kinds of losses, losing their loved ones, divorce, death, disease, loss of professional, losing their careers, things like that, losing income, losing their like I said, their loved ones, their children, parents, their partners. They're difficult things and certainly very painful. So again, we can focus on the problem or we can focus on the solution. I mean, again, I know it's easier said than done, but it has to be done unless we want to stay where we are. And that's okay too. We can stay where we are. That's perfectly fine. The question is for how long? What, another 3 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And what is it? And the question is, what does it cost us? What does it cost us to be here in this place? Does it cost us more happiness? Does it cost us to actually have the life we want, that we dream of, the relationships we dream of, because certainly we can choose to be miserable, be victims, and just let the life, like those horses, take us whichever way it wants to. Or we can take the reins and start to be in charge and simply enjoy, appreciate, look at the life lessons and ask ourselves, what do I want and what am I willing to do about it? Even something as simple like, as Heidi said, breathing, for example, or like I said, holding the mudra, and telling yourself, what I, for example, I like to do is, so for example, if you ever feel that, let's say you're not happy, let's say you feel unhappy, and you say, oh, I'm not happy, or you say, I'm unhappy, or you can always add the word yet at the end of the sentence. So for example, I'm not happy yet. And that would change your perspective, because instead of saying I'm not happy and that's your identity, when you say yet, that creates an opening for transformation. It doesn't leave oneself stuck in that identity, because the words and images in our head create our reality, our perception of reality. So we really have to master our words and how we are using our minds in this life. And nobody's teaching that currently in current educational systems. So that's personally what I work with, is helping people through teaching them how to work with on the subconscious level, how to transform, how to identify the root causes of their issues, and come up with their own solutions that work for themselves. And most importantly, also transform their future. Yeah, that's another thing, because our mind, our consciousness can travel in the future and the past. And the way I do it, I work with the hypnotherapy and NLP techniques that I've learned from some of the greatest teachers I've had, like Tony Robbins and Richard Bandler and many of my other teachers. I am a hypnotherapist already with an advanced level of training, and I practice also NLP and so forth. And I'm also I'm trained as one of Tony Robbins' leaders. But anyways, plus, as I said before, we also need to address the body on a physical level. What I really recommend for those of you who want to change your mind, no matter what you're suffering or going through, also think about other people. When you start focusing on other people, take a moment in your day and say, may all people be well and happy. May all people, including myself, be well and happy and free of the root causes of their own suffering. Don't just focus on yourself. Try to create universal love for all living beings, not just yourself. When we become stuck on ourselves, that's when the problems start to happen. We have to consider ourselves. We have to make sure that we love ourselves too. But let's expand our love universally to all other people. Let's start seeing our mind in our mind's eye, seeing ourselves as happy, as free of depression, and everybody else too, because we're all here together. So that to me, this is what life is teaching us, to become universal lovers, to be able to love ourselves and love everybody else at the same time unconditionally, and use our mind and our imagination to transform this world for the highest good of everybody, because we have that power. Everything in our reality responds to our thoughts, to our imagination, to our words, because we live in a universe that is pure energy and spirit, and it's made of, even though it looks like it's solid and made of matter, it is actually a pool of energy that's basically manifests to look like it's solid, and yet it corresponds to everything that we think, say, and focus on, because of the, if you look into quantum physics, this is all talked about for more than 70,000 years on this planet. This whole thing about how we affect our reality has been taught to humanity through different spiritual lineages, through Buddhism and Taoism and Kabbalah and Sufism and what else? Hermetics and so forth, Rosicrucianism. We can go on. Christianity. Everybody's been talking about it in different ways. So the tools that have been passed on, but again, the purpose of this show, this particular show, or this particular webinar that we have today, is to give you guys some tools and to tell you that there is a solution, that there is hope for everybody. Just to give you an example, I want to go into some examples here of some of my cases. And basically, when I was a teenager, I was diagnosed. I received a hepatitis B vaccine, and I got a vaccine injury afterwards. And I was basically, according to the medical system, I was dying, and I had 3 to 6 months to live. And during that time period, my whole body literally was killing me. Every part of my body, every joint, every organ, I was completely wasting away. I was a guy who could run, 40, 50 miles a day in the mountains. And I was super fit, very strong, and 150 push-ups was like nothing for me. And, doing like 15 muscle ups at that age in a row was easy. 20 handstand push-ups was like a normal thing for me. And when I got ill, everything fell apart. My health went, downhill. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I couldn't even study. And I loved to study. I was really good in school. I was very athletic as well, as I said, and all those things, and even my dreams for the future, they felt impossible, because when I was told I had 3 to 6 months to live, that's not good news. And on top of it, my own parents, who didn't really raise me, actually, my own parents kicked me out, because my own parents thought that I was crazy, even though medical tests showed that I was actually poisoned, because they found heavy metals like high levels of mercury and aluminum in my blood. And my parents kicked me out. So I felt completely abandoned. I had no family, nobody else to be there for me. And I got to a point where I didn't even have food sometimes for like 2 weeks. And I was really struggling. And I had no food. I was sick like a dog. I had no family to help me, nobody else. I literally ended up feeling like I'm going to psychologically crack. I felt that probably it was one of the lowest points in my life. And I'm not saying about it like from a place of a victim. This is just to give you guys an example, because I understand now in my life that whatever happened there happened for me to help me to grow and transform, and so that I can become of even greater service and contribution to humanity. So that I can help people like you guys to also heal and transform, and empower you guys to have your own tools and knowledge to be able to heal from whatever is going on in your lives, and bring great people like Heidi here to help you guys, as well. So yeah, so what happened with me when I was going through that situation, I was in a place where, I was meditating, I was doing medical qigong, I was doing yoga, I was oftentimes spending a lot of time in nature. And oftentimes, I would go to a park and I would simply connect with the trees and connect with the nature and ask for answers, ask the universe, ask God, whatever you want to call it. I would ask for assistance and help and the answers to my current circumstances. And I remember one time I was simply just sitting there in the park and meditating, doing my qigong. By the way, qigong is just cultivation of energy. It's a very ancient form of type of exercises or methods that cultivate energy, that are found in China, in the Orient, primarily China, Tibet, Japan, Korea, and so forth. So anyways, I was sitting there, and at one point I thought I was going to literally crack psychologically. I was, I felt hopeless. I felt completely distraught. There was almost, no hope for me. That's how I felt at the time. And it's funny. I remember I came from my doctor's appointment after they diagnosed me. I'm gonna go back to the park thing in a moment, actually. So my doctor said to me at the time, that I have 3 to 6 months to live. And I had no family, no parents. My parents kicked me out at that point. And basically, when I asked the doctor, what can I do? What can we do about it? He said nothing. And he said that he can only give me antibiotics because my immune system was completely malfunctioning. My immune system was no longer functioning. So, when I heard that he can do nothing and that he can only give me antibiotics, I kind of smirked. And I said, thank you. But in my head, I actually said, I did not think good thoughts about the guy. Let's put it this way. I kind of swore quite a bit in my head that I didn't want to say it out loud, but I was like, I'm gonna show you basically. And I left that appointment. And actually, by the way, humor is a great thing, guys. You all know it. I don't need to remind you guys, but if anything, this is just a kind reminder. Try to find humor in life about everything that's happening. If somebody says something stupid to you and makes it offensive, make their voice sound like a chipmunk. Change things around your head. You've got that power. Somebody is saying something offensive, imagine they're talking like a chipmunk. You can even imitate them. That's what kids do, right? Kids do that. Kids oftentimes will go and start imitating somebody else, and I don't want to do this, right? And they change their voice, right? And this is the way they actually are coping with stress as well. You can also imagine somebody looks like a clown, give them a big red nose and pink hair and makeup and rosy cheeks and maybe a balloon in their hand. They're saying I'm silly or something like that, or I'm funny, and make them talk like a chipmunk as well, or Mickey Mouse, whatever you want. So that's one little psychological tool. All right, let's go back to the to the thing after the appointment. So I'm sitting there after that appointment with this doctor. I'm going to jump around a bit here. And I'm sitting at the bus stop, and I'm crying there. I'm crying and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? My entire life ahead of me is going to be gone. Like, I had all these dreams of accomplishing all kinds of things and having family and so forth. And I thought it's just all going to go out of the window. All right, so I'm crying there, and I have no family to support me, to keep me, psychologically supported, right? And at one moment, as I'm sitting there, I get this intuitive, or I don't know, God-sent message, whatever you want to call it. And I ask myself the question, what is life about? If life could end just like that, what is life about if it's all so impermanent and we could just be gone like the next moment? And I truly felt, it's like for the first time I stared death in the face. And And I thought, and as I'm sitting there, and I thought, we're all here for this moment, only for a moment. The life is only in this moment. That's all there is. Life is always in the moment. In a moment, there's going to be another moment. In 10 years, going to be a moment, hopefully. But the bottom line is not guaranteed. It's not. None of us here is guaranteed to be here tomorrow, the next hour, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now. Even though we may have all these dreams. So this is important because this teaches us to appreciate here and now, here in this moment, and appreciate everybody we have in our life and everything we have in this life. Because death is one of the greatest teachers we have. If we truly understand the purpose of death, the impermanence of things, and how we ultimately have to let go of everything. We have to let go of everything we are attached to, because it is going to bring us suffering. Not being able to let go of things that we are attached to when we experience loss creates tremendous suffering, and loss is one of the causes of depression. So anyhow, sitting there at the bus stop, and I asked myself, what is life about? If it all could be over just like that. And I get this message saying, just do good. Simple. It was kind of funny, right? Just do good. And just do good whilst you are still alive. Just do good, be a good human being, be kind to others, speak good, think good. Because at least when we leave this world, we leave it with a clean slate. And that's important. So this was a huge thing for me, because out of a sudden I understood the purpose of my life. I thought, you know what, no matter how long I'm going to live, I'm just going to do good. I'm just going to help people. I'm just going to learn all these different things and share and help people to also heal themselves and transform themselves and free themselves from their own suffering. Obviously, at this point, how many years have passed? Like 26 years have passed since then, and I'm still around, and I've healed myself from these things. One of the things that I used when I was super depressed, when I was really about to crack, I call it the Phoenix Rising meditation. So at the time, I simply sat upright, or you can do it lying down. I put my palms up just to get, because when your palms are up, you're getting what's called yang qi from the cosmos, from the universe. The yang qi is uplifting. It's uplifting. So palms up, yeah? Unless your mind is super active, you can move your palms down. That will calm you down more. So I'm sitting there, and I'm simply imagining myself burning. Like I'm basically on fire, and this fire is burning away all my emotional pain. It's burning away my sadness, my grief, my sorrow, my worries, everything about myself, everything about the world, and slowly dissolving myself into light. And once you do this practice to a point where you completely turn into light, when you completely burn yourself away and there's nothing left behind, it can be very freeing. And then actually, this is the only, at that time when I did this Phoenix Rising type of a meditation, it freed me from depression. It freed me from literally cracking completely psychologically down. Because when I was completely burned and I felt like I was no longer existing, I disassociated from this life. I detached completely. I was freed. Because, that's part of the reason why I believe some people are suicidal, because they believe that when they kill themselves, they can free themselves. They can free themselves from the pain, but they don't have to, because they can just imagine themselves simply burning, everything burning away, and creating a disassociation. And imagining that this fire around their body is burning away their emotions. Yeah. So those are some of the simple things that you guys can use. Use your imagination, use your words, use your posture. Be in the sunlight. Get lots of sunlight, guys, because sunlight helps your body to produce vitamin D. and different hormones like serotonin and so forth. So which are antidepressant. Also, sleep in the complete darkness. Make sure your room is completely pitch black at night. Let no light come through, because when the light comes through into your room, it will actually cause melatonin formation or production in your brain to go down. And melatonin is super important for your health and your physical health and your psychological, psycho-emotional health. One other thing that I would recommend, turn your Wi-Fi off at night. Turn your router off. Turn your router off, because the frequencies from Wi-Fi have been known to cause disturbances in the organs and in your DNA, your RNA, and also in your cells. So turn your Wi-Fi off at nighttime. Make sure that you don't sleep close to a smart meter. All these frequencies have an impact on your body and mind. One super simple thing you guys can do is go and lie down on the grass. It's that simple. Lie down on the grass, or even if you have snow around, lie down on the snow. Probably not on the mud. If it's muddy outside, you probably don't want to do that unless you want to have better skin. But anyhow, it's up to you what you want to do. But lie down on the grass, because the earth's energy, see, everything is, as I said, energy. And the earth will pull your emotional energy and your any unhealthy energy out of your system. And the earth emits healthy energy as long as you are in a healthy spot. Remember, if you're lying on some place with pollution and chemicals and stuff, you might want to find yourself a nice clean place, maybe in a park or something like that. So you want to be, when you lie down, your energy will be, your toxic, unhealthy, emotional, physical energy will be absorbed by the earth, and the clean energy will be given to you from the earth. It's super simple. One time I got into an argument with one of my ex-girlfriends, and I was so upset. And when I lay down on the grass for 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, I felt like, my goodness, I felt like I was on vacation, as if I came from like 1 week of vacation. So it's super easy to do. Anyways, I mean, I could go into other examples of circumstances in my life, but I think you guys have a basic idea, that first of all, there are solutions, breathing methods, energy methods. I personally work with energy, through Qigong, through energy work, hypnotherapy, NLP, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and so forth. I work on the causative level, and I can help you guys through Zoom or physically, depending what the situation is. And yeah, and also I am organizing events personally where I'll be teaching these things to people that they can themselves do. And I personally invite people like Heidi to co-create events so that we can serve you guys even more and provide even better service, so you guys can actually heal and transform. That's my personal mission, is to empower people and to help people to free themselves, so that we can all be of even greater service for each other and for this planet and for the future generations. What else? So if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can always leave me a comment or your contact information in your in the chat window, or you can reach me at martin@martinbogusz.com. So you can use my email for now. And Heidi, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm in the process of creating my site, so that will be HeidiRomer.com. There's also I'm on Instagram mostly at the Heidi Romer, and then via email is heal@HeidiRomer.com.
Right. And we'll keep you guys posted about the future things that are happening, about any kind of events. We'll keep you guys in the loop. I look forward to having Heidi again on this kind of live webinars, so we can discuss things and see how we can help you guys. And again, I'll be updating you, people through TikTok and also through YouTube on the upcoming events. I'm actually going to be running a Qigong energy healing event in Germany in May. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be May 13th for 1 week till May 20th. I will be confirming the dates soon. So any one of you who is in Germany or who wants to come to Germany, you guys are welcome. Just ask me for any further information. But there'll be more events happening in other parts of Europe and United States, possibly in Canada and other countries. So, and we'll be always focusing on ideally creating the events in places with very good energy, or the energy is very powerful, so you guys can get your maximum transformation, maximum impact, and set yourselves free as quickly as possible. Yeah, so other than that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us. So far, you have our contacts. And other than that, anything else you want to say, Heidi, before we get off this call?
I think it's great. You've mentioned a lot of really powerful things and insights. So thank you for having me.
All right. No, thank you, Heidi, for being present here and sharing your wisdom and your expertise here. So other than that, you guys have an awesome day. Stay healthy, stay well, stay happy, and enjoy and appreciate your life. Take care.